to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about the life of Frank Rothenberger and his impact on Osborne, Kansas. Then join us for a story about owls and the different varieties around the state. Next, we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at the Congressional Award presented to Bob Dole. Stay with us. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Well, hello again. It must be Wednesday. Just you, me, some fake sunflowers, and and Michael, our cameraman. Now, speaking of cameraman, I saw a thing on Facebook. Don't you see everything on Facebook? And it had to do with, the commercials. Help, I've fallen down and I can't get up. A good point. If she fell down and couldn't get up, why didn't the cameraman help her up? Bad joke. All right. So this is Around Kansas. I'm Frank Chafin, your host. Deb Goodrich, of course, is out in western Kansas. And even though this is January 31st, she may be trapped still in the snow out there. Western Kansas has really been getting hammered this year with ice and snow, with I-70 being closed many times and all that. And that's why my co-host is some fake sunflowers, because it's very difficult for Deb to make the trip to eastern Kansas and be on the show. She's got some stories coming up which we'll tell you about. But wow, here we are, January 31st. Can you believe it? Where is this year going? And of course, the 2nd of February, do you know what that is? Yeah, it is Groundhog Day. That's when Punxsutawney Phil in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, either sees a shadow or not. And this year, with the way the weather's been, there's a real good chance he ain't going to see a shadow. It's going to be snowing and who knows. Anyway, so Groundhog Day, of course, is coming up. And then hopefully not too long after that, it's going to be 6 weeks anyway, regardless. It will be spring again. Also coming up here in the very near future at the Kansas Expo Center is the Kansas Garden Show. This is the 44th year for that. And so it's a good breath of spring to go in the Expo Center and see what all the lawn and garden people and all that have got to show in the way of ideas for this year for your lawn and for your garden. So it's a fun show to go to. I know the adult admission price is $8. Kids 12 and under are free. And that Friday, senior citizens 55 plus. Yeah, if you're 55 plus now, you're a senior citizen. It's buy one, get one free. So anyway, that will be a fun thing. All right, stories today. We're going to have a story about Frank Rothenberger, who essentially built Osborne. You'll like to hear that story. Another is about owls. Everybody likes owls. I like barn owls. They're kind of mysterious. They kind of float through the air. So Deb's going to have a story about that. And we're also going to have a story about a famous Kansan, a great Kansan and a great American, Bob Dole. He just recently received, of course, the gold medal from Congress, the Congressional Gold Medal for service to the United States. Bob is now 94 years old, and he was there and received the award. So we'll hear about that. And, of course, we'll have a little poetry from our poet laureate, Ron Wilson. So, anyway, stay tuned. We'll be back. Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Well, I think we should establish that we have some contributing editors or contributors or just people who give me story ideas all the time. And one of those would be my friend Von Rothenberger. And Marla Matkin and I were headed to Hays one day when we stopped in at DeMar at St. Joseph's Catholic Church, which is a masterpiece of architecture. And as I started looking into the building of St. Joseph's, Von Rothenberger shared the story of the Rothenberger family, who were actually the stonemasons on that famous structure. And that led back to the story of Frank Rothenberger. And that's the one I'm going to share with you today. It's an incredible story. But stay tuned, because in the weeks ahead, we're also going to do a story on that church at DeMar. And it is incredible. So today, the story of Frank Rothenberger and his sons who built it, and in a few weeks, the story of that glorious church at DeMar. Stay with us.
Frank Rothenberger was born in 1862 in Muhlenberg Township, Berks County, Pennsylvania, the youngest of 9 children. His father, stonemason Franklin Anthony Rothenberger, had died 3 months before of tuberculosis, and his mother remarried. His mother and stepfather helped organize a group of settlers bound for Kansas. Every member of the colony had to have an official occupation of primary benefit to the colony, and Frank was designated a stonemason in his father's memory. The scouting party for what would later become known as the Pennsylvania Colony left by train from Lancaster in 1871. 5 days later, Frank's 9th birthday, the colony reached the end of the railroad at Waterville, Kansas, where they then organized a wagon train for the remaining trip west. On May 1st, the scouting party laid out the town site of Osborne City. A few weeks later, 250 more Pennsylvanians arrived. Frank formed the Rothenberger Masonry Company in 1884, and over the next 50 years completed several thousand jobs. At first, he walked to his work, his tools in a bag slung over his shoulder. Later, he often bicycled to sites as far as 50 miles. For large jobs, a buckboard served the purpose. As his 5 sons became older, they served as Frank's workmen for the ever larger jobs he was contracted for. Some of the larger structures the company tackled included high schools at Webster and Covert, the Christian Church and Smith Center, the Osborne Municipal Light Plant, and St. Joseph's Catholic Church in DeMar. Watch for an episode devoted to St. Joseph's in a few weeks. Frank was a lifelong lover of music, singing in many services and for many occasions at the Christian Church in Osborne. He was also active in the Oddfellows Lodge, but his major contribution to the history of the community and county remains the many sidewalks, walls, bridges, and buildings in Osborne and elsewhere that are living monuments to his toil, as well as a large number of homes. His last few years were spent caring for his wife and enjoying their last years together. Frank passed away in 1946 and was buried in the Osborne Cemetery, the last member of the original Pennsylvania colony in Osborne County. By the end of his life, he had literally built the foundations of Osborne County and a good deal of northern Kansas. And the name Rothenberger had become a synonym for quality workmanship, a distinction carried on by the masonry family he founded into the present day.
We started farming in 1970. It was harder work then than it is now, a lot more physical work and the wear and tear on my knees and my body. Now here I'm 70 years old. Well, I started having knee pain here 4 or 5 years ago, and so I was looking for a stem cell clinic, and lo and behold, my good friend John Farley and Ken Wood, who'd been customers and friends for a number of years, opened their clinic, and in about 2 months my heel was a lot better, and then at the end of 3 months and then going on 4, why my knee started making significant improvement, and it's sure been a blessing, because before I had the stem cells, well, I'd be driving a tractor, and if I sat in a tractor for 2 or 3 hours, when I got out I'd have to stop and get the kinks out of my knee and shake it, and today that's not a problem.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
It has been driving me crazy trying to figure out what kind of owl I had seen in our shelter belt. Almost solid white, with a face like a plate and steady brown eyes. I had not gotten a photo, not a good one, because I was staring into his eyes, just as he stared into mine. I had not startled him. He had been watching me for a while, just as he watched the cows in the next pasture, or the horses in our corrals, or the pigeons that roosted in one of the grain bins. As I neared the tree where he was perched, he decided I had come too close, and quietly raised his wings and lifted into another tree. He did not fly away, just a more comfortable distance. I stood for what seemed like minutes before resuming my walk, and he again lifted his wings without a sound and moved a little farther away. He was magnificent. But what was he? We know there are owls living with us. We hear their calls. We see the bones, the feathers, the remains of their victims under the trees. Sometimes we catch sight of one in the distance. Once, while out walking at dusk, 2 owls silently flew past us and landed yards away in the pasture. They had passed just a couple of feet from us, but we were unaware until they landed. They were brown, average size. I saw Becky Tanner's news story in the Wichita Eagle that snowy owls were starving in our state, forced out of their own Arctic habitat by the abundance of food that in turn produced an abundance of offspring and thus lots of competition for food. I assumed our owl must have been one of those and pored over their images, only to be dismayed that the owl I had seen looked nothing like the round-headed, yellow-eyed, snowy owl in the pictures. He could only have been a barred owl, unusually white. I do have the advantage in that Dr. Jake is an actual veterinarian and therefore pretty astute when it comes to differentiating one animal from the next. But he had not seen the owl. The hoots that we hear each evening are undoubtedly that of the great horned owl, in his expert opinion. The distinctive call of the barred owl is not heard. Maybe it is lost in the coos of the doves and the squawking of the hawks and the cackling of the pheasants. On one of those recent warm days, I ventured back into the cedar trees, hoping to catch another glimpse of him. I found signs of a predatory bird, pigeon and small pheasant feathers scattered on the ground, but I never saw him. I heard the hoots of the great horned owl and walked over to the stock tank into a little grove of trees. I was watching the ground, looking for more evidence, when a flapping above my head startled me. I looked up in time to see an owl flying from the tree, but he wasn't white. He was definitely brown and or gray, and he was gone in a blink. Back to my Google searches. The barred owl lives mostly in the eastern United States and was not common on the high plains because there simply weren't enough woodlands. But that has changed. Sources say the trees growing up along the streams that stretch into the west offer them ample habitat. My research proves that he has to be a barred owl. My heart tells me he is a ghost, that he brings me stories of the past, and that someday he will return.
This segment brought to you by the Arab Shrine Circus, coming to the Kansas Expo Center February 15th through the 18th. For ticket information, visit ArabShrineCircus.com.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we showcase my renowned frontier military and Native American artifacts. Behind me you see a touch of fall. We put together not only the beauty of Micah Highwalking, who is the first graduate of West Point of the Northern Cheyenne people and a dear friend, but also a Hudson's Bay blanket that I have here in the gallery. The unique opportunity that I was able to have was we unveiled this painting and surprised Micah at Custer Battlefield, a true honor.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Hi, I'm Randy.
And I'm Paul from PFI.
We would like to personally invite you to stop by PFI, home of Boot Daddies.
PFI is America's Western store, covering over 50,000 square feet.
Over 25,000 boots.
Visit Saddle City with the largest selection of saddles and tack anywhere.
A huge selection of hats at Big Spur Hat Company in PFI Town.
And choose from the best brands of clothing and accessories for the entire family.
PFI, located on Highway 65 at the Battlefield exit in Springfield. And I'm not kidding.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
There is a group called the Kansas Barn Alliance, which promotes and preserves barns as a vital part of the rural lifestyle of Kansas. This poem is entitled, Barns Are Beautiful. I think a barn is a beautiful thing, surrounded by grass in the early spring. It's a place of shade to store some hay with stanchions for milking cows along the way, or perhaps a tack room or stalls, of course, where you can stable a cow or a horse. Or maybe it's converted to some modern use, which a rural landowner will come to choose. It may have a gable or gambrel roof to maintain, topped off by a cupola or a weather vane. It may be built of stone or old wood, but it brings back memories of when times were good. It's a symbol of our nation's rural legacy, a part of our landscape for all to see. And when you've worked hard on the range and you're all in, just waiting for the workday to come to an end, It's sweet to hear those words when the boss says, "Oh darn, I guess it's quitting time. Let's go to the bar." Happy trading.
Welcome to our Bar B, 8,000 plus square feet Western store with something for everyone in the family. We have boots, belts, hats, jeans, anything you could want to outfit you and your horse. Come visit our line of saddles. We have 400 plus new and used saddles in stock. We offer tack, grooming supplies, head stalls, breast collars, you name it, we've got it for you and your horse. That's our Bar B, 1 mile east of Highway 4 on Northeast 39th. Our Bar B, where Western is a way of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, it's Shrine Circus time! Enjoy a weekend of thrills, chills, and tons of fun at the Kansas Expo Center February 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. See lions and tigers, elephants, high-flying trapeze artists, and watch a man shot out of a cannon. And Johnny Rocket, everyone's favorite, is back. For more information, visit ArabShrineCircus.com and be sure to thank our corporate sponsor, Security Benefit, the Arab Shrine Circus. Don't you dare miss it!
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
As many of you know, Bob Dole, former senator from Kansas, received the Congressional Medal the other day for his service to his country as a serviceman in World War II, and certainly in the halls of Congress for all those years. It's a well-deserved honor, and I thought it was a very appropriate time to look back at the career of one of Kansas' most famous sons, Senator Robert Dole.
The United States Congress has presented the highest civilian honor Congress can bestow to former Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole of Kansas. Making the presentation, House Speaker Paul Ryan said, "Today it is my honor to say that we award the Congressional Gold Medal to the soldier, the legislator, the statesman from Kansas, Senator Bob Dole." Dole, 94, was born in Russell in 1923. "The Congressional Gold Medal is one of our oldest traditions," said Ryan. "Since its founding, our country has been ushered beyond the threshold of greatness by individuals of unrivaled courage. Bob Dole is one of those giants. For the man from Russell, it was always a question of what he could do for others, be it on the front lines of World War II or within the halls of Congress. Bob Dole has always stood by what is just and what is right. He was a resounding voice for the hungry and those with disabilities, negotiating some of the biggest reforms our social programs have seen. He's also proven himself to be one of the greatest allies Americans' veterans will ever know. In 1989, he stood in this very place to dedicate this flag for our prisoners of war and those missing in action. He has never stopped fighting for those who fight for us. Bob Dole is as honorable as they come. It is this kind of American hero, the selfless, staunch defenders of those who can't defend themselves, who don't always get the recognition they deserve. So today, may this celebration mark not only all he has done for those in this room, not only all he has done for those watching at home, but all he has done, and the impact he has made for those who don't even realize it was he who made it. Senator Dole, said Ryan, because of you, America is better. Dole's wife, Elizabeth Dole, who served as both North Carolina Senator and Secretary of Transportation, read a prepared speech on her husband's behalf, expressing his feelings of being honored by the award. The speech emphasized taking the long view of American leadership, including the need for compromise. Every politician accepts the need for compromise from time to time. This is how the American public was built, Dole said, and giving a nod to veterans buried at Arlington Cemetery who spoke many tongues and practiced many faiths, but sacrificed their lives together in defense of American democracy.
That's it for this week. I'll see you somewhere around Kansas. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy Street.